Where does this start?
It's the first poem in the book. It's called Thalia and the Cockatoo. There dwelt in Perth, Australia, a cordially odd old stick named Thalia. A life of comfort without colour had by the decade dimmed her duller and made her seem quite without vim. But maybe that had all been him? In widowhood, there came a change. A new her woke. She woke up strange. She pierced her ears for the first time, bought ball gowns from the 5 and dime, wore bedroom slippers to the store, even knit mufflers for the poor. She let her hair out, one might say. What hair she had left, anyway. Spare, cloud-grey clumps that swirled untamed. Age? I do not know. She claimed, I'm 66 by Aussie stats, since we live upside down like bats. So, 99? But since she told that joke for years, let's stick with old. In her long life, her one regret was that she never owned a pet. And so before it got too late, she strove to overcompensate. She owned, at least who could keep count of all the kinds and their amount, 6 snakes, 3 dogs, 11 cats, 7 white rabbits, 5 with hats, 8 mice, 12 fish, 10 gold, 2 blue, 9 gerbils, and 1 cockatoo, which she let loose about the house, to hop and slink, to cat and mouse, to gobble both it and each other. She was a laissez-faire stepmother. And every day she toured the show, watching her family shrink and grow, and rut and feed and crap and shed, and bear new life and drop down dead. And all thought their menagerie was home, sweet home as home could be. But there was one intrigued her more than any other 24. The one like flame, the fire that flew, the bright resplendent cockatoo. Thalia had led a sheltered life, a parson's child, the gracious wife of a wordless, frowning banker. She'd played her role with meek, mild rancor. He died, she wept. Some thought it grief, some recognized it as relief. Free, still spry, childless, alone, she neither envied anyone nor knew what else she ought to covet. Her world seemed just the shape to love it. The list of ordinary stuff she didn't know was long enough to sadden, shock, amuse, amaze, and numb you all for days and days. One example here will do. It concerns the cockatoo. She'd never learned that parrots speak. That when one held them to one's cheek and crooned, "My darling," to such birds, they might croon back those very words. Our story is about to tell of how she learned it all too well. Of all her pets, the cockatoo stood out for vibrancy of hue. A robe of red and yellow streaks, a crown of spiky hot pink peaks. She called him Claude. Her husband's name, she realized with a tinge of shame. Her mouth was used to it, that's all. And Claude came swooping to her call. He loved to nest in chandeliers, as if to match his grace with theirs. And when he rose, a dancing arc of light pursued him through each dark and cobwebbed corner of the room, scrubbing her little world of gloom. She used to set him on her finger and preen his throat so he would linger. And when she could, "My darling," to him, she swore a tremble whispered through him. If all Claude's language then was squawk and chirp, chirp, cheep was all his talk, yet oh, what heaven when he chirped. All hell broke loose the day he burped. Thalia, who of course had taught him daily since the day she bought him how to shape and hold this note, inadvertently no doubt a minor gastric ailment, jerked. She thought some belching burglar lurked. She ducked, she screamed, the scream screamed back. A dog barked and awoke the pack. Soon snarl for snarl, and growl for growl, and mule for mule, and howl for howl, the whole menagerie joined in, each echoed by Claude's eerie twin. A rabbit put in her 2 cents and got 4 more in recompense. The last of the surviving mice squealed and found it squealed back twice. A fly's buzz, bugs do crash the party, became disquietingly hearty. A snake of some kinds, hooded, hiss, doubled its S's, much like this. Even each fish's sploshy ripple seemed there in mid-air to triple, as swelling the scene's every crotchet and wheeling on wide wings to watch it, there rose this cloud of all, this wonder, this lightning dancing into thunder to rouse the rabble and whip it crackpot till every 2 cents worth hit jackpot. What fun they had, all except Thalia, who gasped, "My love has echolalia." Twisting in flight, Claude paused and listened. He'd heard her voice. His fierce eyes glistened. "My darling," cooed the marvellous bird. "Dear heart," he crooned, then barked, then purred, and came to her to be caressed. "By God," cried Thalia, "he's possessed." As if by... No, she dared not say. The man was dead 5 years that day.
Oh.
Besides, the words the bird had said had never entered that man's head. "Dear heart," whispered Claude once more. And Thalia swooned and struck the floor. Oh, Claude, if you could talk, how rash to start with so outsized a splash. Such wild news, unless broken gently, unsettles certain hearers mentally. When Thalia came to, she was bats. She fed the last mouse to the cats. She served a rabbit to the dogs, garnished with junk mail catalogues. She placed 2 gerbils in a dish and tried to feed them to the fish. She chomped some this and that herself, an old silk bellhouse, a plywood shelf seasoned with a little salt, and dentures luckily called halt. As for the demon bird, she chased it round the house with cardboard paste, but never got a decent swipe. She wasn't the athletic type. At length, by hint of dust perseverance, despite some canine interference, a sleeping pooch stretched out to fell her, she trapped that parrot in the cellar, then sprawled against the door and wept for words unsaid and vows unkept, for restless ghosts who would not die, for sleeping dogs too long let lie, for bold conclusions left unleapt to. And when her grief was spent, she slept too. In the cellar was a sink. A tap's eye gave a slow, wet wink. The dryer leaked a sock or two, enough to feed a cockatoo. All day, Claude scarcely made a sound. He mapped the space out, flapped around the walls, and gnawed the window locks, slurped water from the tap, chewed socks, but mostly he listened at the door to Thalia's soft, persistent snore. When she began to wake, he purred below the door a single word: "Darling." He cooed it in her ear, in tones as tenderly sincere as Thalia's own, for hers they were. Lightly he breathed them back to her, a distant, intimate, slow sigh. She grimaced hard, but would not cry. She swung the door. The cockatoo, without a glance from her, flicked through, bowed to a pooch, and gave one bark. Thalia faced the cellar's dark. "Claude," she said, "I know you're there. It's time we talked." The musty air rode up to her in earthy gusts. She climbed down through a dance of dusts. Some lights were out. One blazed, went dim, and flickered dead. A sign? From him? So what did poor mad Thalia say in that small underworld foray? Was it the glittering ashes of an old damned passion? Was it love, or tenderness, or else their lack she came to terms with in the black? Did Claude the ghost, can ghosts, respond, unprompted, in a way more fond? Neighbours 2 weeks later found her stretched out on the bald stone ground, almost comfortably dead. Her rain boots, or his rain boots, pillowing her head. And that was the last they saw of her. Her buds and bairns in scales and fur, her 30 cats, her 40 rabbits, indulging their dirty, naughty habits, her hooded snake, the rodent hummock bulging its slow way to its stomach. a tranquil tank of fish, so still they might perhaps be slightly ill. Her quivering last surviving gerbil, her pooch, her pugs, even that verbal magic show and cabaret, that flying fireworks display, that cockatoo she'd raised to hawk back to her soul its own sweet talk. O Thalia, what did you achieve conjuring such jokers from your sleeve? Did it not seem rather late to reinvent your simple fate, to coddle pets and name one Claude, and as they chomped your house, applaud? To limp down the dim cellar stair, to talk to ghosts not wholly there? Oh, Thalia, if you hadn't blundered, you might have lived to be 100. A feat the whole world counts a stellar. Instead of that, you chose the cellar. Too late to fix or greatly leaven the hurt in you, or call it even for 50 years pent in his cage. But not perhaps to tell your rage to his and your own ghosts who live deep in the dark, or to forgive, to bear your heart's kept score of failure, its griefs, its petty marginalia, its silent spites, its secret shame, and hear the dead avow the same. Dear heart, some blame, some guilt confessed, grace granted to be laid at rest, snuggling his boots. Poor dear old Thalia. And then there's a footnote. You might have lived to be 100 or 001 in Perth, Australia. Upside down. See, long.